It is September 8th, 2022. We are here at the Port St. Lucie stop along the Turnpike, where Gary Green has graciously agreed to meet with me to take care of the second part of his interview as a member of the Florida Bandmasters Association Legacy Project. When we last left you, you had gone to Connecticut, and you were happy in Connecticut, but looking toward Florida. Take it away.
Well, first, I'd like to say it's wonderful to see that little red light on your camera.
There's a story there, folks. Ask him about it.
It means all systems go. Yeah, I had been in Connecticut for 10 years and had a great time. I mean, I loved it there. But life's going to take you where it's going to take you, and I had an opportunity to come to Florida, specifically the University of Miami. And Mike Mann actually was the marching band director here at the time, and Mike was primarily responsible for the initial contact and kind of got my interest going, and so I came down to, on their invitation, of course, to look for the job.
Mm-hmm. And what was your interview like?
Well,
There's another story
yeah.
coming.
The interview itself was similar to most interviews. The story that I had mentioned earlier to you was a funny one. Well, it wasn't funny at the time. I flew from Connecticut, from Hartford, to Miami. I was going to be here for 2 or 3 days, and then I was leaving directly from Miami to go to South Dakota.
Wow.
I can't remember exactly. It was an honor band of some sort. Mm-hmm. But the climate in Miami was in the 70s, 80s, and the climate in South Dakota was quite different. It was in the 20s. And so I had 2 suitcases packed, which was kind of a strange beginning. And I was to be met at the airport in Miami by a gentleman whose name was Nick DeCarbo.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know Nick at the time. I'd never really even heard of him, but he'd contacted me and let me know he'd pick me up. So the flight was uneventful. Left early in the morning so I could make an early afternoon interview with the faculty and with the ensemble. My very first part of the audition was to be with what was the wind ensemble at the time. And so we had left Hartford, like I said, early, and I had drank coffee all morning for at least 2.5, 3 hours. And as luck would have it, of course, in Miami it was storming. So we circled around Miami for what seemed like an eternity, which made me very late to my arrival. So I got off the plane and met Nick, and we ran down the concourse to get to his car so we could get to the university. And I told Nick, I said, look, he said, just leave your suitcases here. We won't pick them up. We'll come back and get them. Then I said, that's fine, but just know that I really need to go to the bathroom. He says, we don't have to do that. We don't have time to do that right now. So I said, well, before we get there and I start rehearsal, I really need to do that. And so Nick said, he agreed. So we drove like crazy down Lejeune Road to the university, and we went through the back door of Fillmore Hall. Mm-hmm. And that's where obviously the ensemble was going to rehearse. And I remember Nick opening that back door to Fillmore, and there was the wind ensemble right there. I mean, there was nothing. And and all I could think of is, how am I going to make this get to the restroom work? And Nick said, ladies and gentlemen, Gary Green. So I was off and running. So that was kind of the way my introduction to Miami went. It was off and running from the ground zero, and it went that way for those next 2 days.
Mm-hmm. Well, obviously you impressed them because you got the job.
Well, it's auditioning for any job, and I think this is important to understand, that auditioning for any job is always kind of a, maybe it's going to work out your way and maybe it's not. I mean, when you stop to think about a huge career change like that, leaving a place where I liked it and I was happy, to come someplace where you don't know is always kind of a risk. And so being offered a job is not a guarantee, but I do recall that the thing that impressed me most about the University of Miami at that particular time was the faculty. Nick DeCarbo being chief amongst those people, but of course my dean, Bill Hipp, was instrumental in my feeling about the university. And so I was excited about the opportunity, what could happen and what might happen. So if you recall, I came here almost 30 years ago, and almost 30 years ago was Hurricane Andrew.
Wow, yes.
Which had happened just before I came down here to interview. It was the year before. And that was another thing. I knew nobody was living in their home. People were scattered out all over the place, just trying to live through that devastation that was Hurricane Andrew. And so the call that I was to receive from Bill Hipp was delayed quite a bit. But I remember exactly when the call came. I was in my office in Stores at the University of Connecticut, and the snow was so hard. You know how rain or snow will fall down? Well, this snow was going sideways. It was so windy and so cold. And Bill said, "Have you got a minute to talk? I'm on the way to play tennis here in Miami. And I just thought I'd call you before I did to see if you would be interested in coming down here to teach." And I'm thinking, he's going to play tennis and I'm stranded in his office with snow. Are you kidding me? So that's how it came down. And I was blessed. I was fortunate to be able to do this, to come to a beautiful place like this with terrific faculty and people that I knew were great artists and people that really wanted to teach music. So I was blessed. I was lucky to be offered the job.
We're lucky to have you. What words of advice do you want to pass on to young directors or future directors?
This is our second or third time through that question, and I've thought about it a lot since our first initial asking of the question. The best advice, I think, is if you have a family, to be strongly in touch with your family first. That's first, because there's obviously something there that you have made a decision about with another person, to make a life with that person. That's, when you stop to think, it's pretty extraordinary. I mean, it's nothing to take lightly. But the heartaches and the good and the bad that are going to go through those years of togetherness are the most important part. They identify you as who you are. And so the best advice I could give is to love someone with all your heart and to give your life over to that person and be willing to make the sacrifices for that person, for who you are and who they are. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, it's a serious business, this teaching of music. I personally believe that teaching of music is essential for every young person, whether you're a middle school band director, or high school, elementary school, college. It doesn't matter. You're teaching the same thing. That's what we're here for. We study music. We love music, so we're here to teach it. So we're going to take ourselves pretty seriously often, and that's okay. I don't see anything that can hurt us or hinder us from being good teachers by taking it very seriously. But sometimes we have a tendency to take it so seriously that we forget that life is what causes the music to happen. So we don't engage ourselves in our lives fully. And so there are things we need to do that will make us better people, and consequently then perhaps better musicians and better teachers of music. But while you are engaged in the energy of trying to learn what you have to learn to be a good mentor, to be a good teacher, someone who is justifiably in love with the idea of teaching, I think you need to be able to look around and feel the air around you, listen to the birds, feel the wind, and hear what young people sound like when they're having a great time, and watch them as they engage in their growing. So there are so many things for us to do. So enjoy the time. It's going to go fast. So you know that's a problem, isn't it? Young people want things to go fast so that they can benefit from what they're doing. Unfortunately, while you're doing it, it's not fast. It's slow. But trust me, all those slow hours, all those slow minutes of painful learning will happen in a blink of an eye. And so enjoy the ride. Be grateful that you get to be a teacher. I mean, it's the greatest thing you could possibly do.
Oh, I just got goosebumps. That is great advice, and you obviously have a passion.
Well, I was born. I guess I was born with it. I don't know. I don't know why. Sometimes caring so deeply about something like we care about, to hear a sound and to be able to identify the beauty of that sound, is both a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because we are able to do it. It's not a curse, but it is difficult to try to understand why that makes us feel that way. Why is it that we are so wrapped up in the idea of art and music? An unanswerable question, but it comes out, and I could never explain why inside I feel the way I do. I think I have an idea of how it started, but I don't know that I could tell you exactly why it happens the way it does every day. But we're lucky to be, and I am lucky to have the identity of being a music teacher, and I think that's important. But I also think that for me, the idea of learning to be as good a person as you can be is a challenge, because it's almost impossible. You try, but within all the mistakes you make, but nonetheless, you are who you are. So I have what I have, and can't help it.
I find it joyful that you identify yourself as a music teacher instead of as a university professor emeritus, that you're a music teacher.
Well,
and I love that.
I grew up, it's inside of every older person, which is certainly me at this point in time, is a young person.
Wondering what happened.
Yeah, just kind of coming along with you. And so those memories that you have, while they are memories, are very real. I mean, there's something you can touch. There's something very visceral that you can feel and see and hear. Nobody else can, but you can. And so I am a teacher. I try to be a teacher. But I also have a huge responsibility. I feel a huge responsibility to teach music to students that might be meaningful to them, or is meaningful to me, that might be meaningful to them in how you present it, and how they respond to it. So if I am asked to go conduct an honor band somewhere, I'm grateful to have people ask me to do that, but with that comes a gigantic feeling of responsibility. What am I going to teach them? And why am I going to teach them that? And what if I play this one? Did I not play? And did I think about the kid that's going to be sitting in that ensemble? And what can I offer that kid? You're talking maybe a few hours of rehearsal, but it's a few hours that you will not have again to say to that young man or young lady, this is how I feel. And I would like for you to know that. So it is difficult, the responsibility of trying to be a teacher, but yes, I try to be.
Oh,
Yeah.
and you are truly. Your personal character. What is it about you that has allowed you to stay true to music all through your career? Why not go over there and make more money? Why not?
I wish I knew the answer to that. There have been many times in my career when I thought, if I worked this hard at doing X, I could make X amount more money. But then again, if money is what you're after, then you're asking for something that is not at all what you should be striving to attain. Why I have done this for so long, I don't know. I can tell you this: when I was very young in college, and this is a long story, and I may have mentioned it when we were in Daytona. I can't remember. But when I was very young in college, I decided, I think I did mention it to you, that I was not sure I wanted to be a musician. There were reasons for that. So I joined the service. It was during Vietnam. And I remember, I think I told you,
Yes,
people were, the
That was
country needed people.
It was a tough time.
It was. And so I decided, since I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, I joined. Within 20 minutes of arrival at basic training, I knew that I was in for a ride. But because of that four years of training and serving the country, I learned who I was. And I knew that I would never leave music again. I'm thankful that I had the opportunity to serve, don't misunderstand that. But I was so ready to go out and try to find out who I was as a person and as a musician. And the memory of pieces that I had played in high school band and college band. I remember Ligature Posey. I remember La Fiesta Mexicana. I remember all those things, and I wanted to experience that on the other side of the podium. And so I just have never wavered. I always am not fearful, but I'm always aware of the need to learn. I mean, how many times you conducted Ligature Posey, and how many times have you conducted the Hymn of the Symphony? There's always something more to learn. And so, while I do love music, and while I do know and have carried that with me, it's never without a question mark. The question mark is, can you know enough? It's strange. I mean, you open one door of something you don't know, like a composer you don't know, or it could be anything like an alternate fingering on a bassoon that you don't know. And you go look at that, and you find the answer to that, but on your way to find the answer to that are 100 questions that you didn't know while you were moving toward that one idea. And so the journey becomes everything. I mean, the journey is question. You get to the point what you were looking for in the first place. Now you got to go all the way back to the beginning and look at all those questions that you asked on the way. So it's always a struggle.
Right
Always.
down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I know you're a golfer.
Well, that's pretty good. That's not exactly correct. I like to play golf. We'll put it that
Okay.
way.
Okay. You enjoy playing golf.
I do.
Let's put it
Yeah.
that way. Do you find yourself still thinking about music?
Oh yeah.
Even while you're on the golf course with your buddies?
Yeah, I do, but it's not a deep visit. It's not a deep centered investigation at that point, because there's nothing there that will allow you to think.
So you allow yourself the freedom to step away.
I do. I do. Yeah, and I'm grateful that I have it. I am. And when COVID hit, we couldn't do anything. Golf was an outdoor sport, and so I was able to exercise and do activity without feeling too much fear about COVID, which was really good for me. But I don't know if I mentioned this to you at all. COVID, part of my life has been taken with traveling and talking to people and conducting and workshops and things. But when COVID hit, that stopped. I mean, whatever was on my calendar was gone. And so, actually, at the very, very beginning of it was this kind of trite relief that I could finally just chill out and not have to be concerned with it, just stop. And so, but that was superficial, because before long, those questions kept coming back, but there was no activity to allow my interest to be further pursued. So I've always been interested in photography. I don't know if I told you this.
No.
Yeah, I'm very interested in photography. And so during a lot of that COVID, especially the first year and a half, even now, I have investigated how color works, how composition works, how form works. All those things that make a great painting or a great photograph became really interesting to me, because it was a way for me to engage myself in a creative way, to investigate how I really feel about the way two colors act to each other, or a bright spot and a dark spot. How do they react to each other? Which is exactly what I ask myself in music. I mean, there's not a dime's worth of difference as far as I'm concerned. So photography has taken a lot of my time as well. So I have golf, and I really am down the rabbit hole, as you would say, in photography. Especially, I like to photograph, but what I really love to do is to examine the possibility of the art of not recreating, but re-examining how scenes are relit or composed. So I do a lot of that kind of thing with Lightroom, Photoshop, etc.
You manipulate.
I do.
Take the image and then you manipulate it.
Right.
That's music.
It is.
It is.
It is. I use it. I use it when I go speak to people. What is it that brings the interest? What is it that we're trying to say? What is it we're trying to spotlight in the whole C flat suite? What are you trying to say? Just the same thing over and over and over, or is there something about that re-entrance of the trombones at the end that's so magnificent that you want everybody to know it without them even realizing it? So how do you color the trombones at the end so that when it happens, it's like the sky opening up? And so it's the same kind of thing. How do you want the music, the composer's music, to be engaged with an audience, and to be realized in a human way? And so photography is very similar in my mind. Yeah.
I'd love to see it.
When we're done, I'll show you. I've
Okay.
got a couple things. I'll show you.
Fantastic. Well, actually, we are about at a half an hour already. So is there something that we have neglected to visit with, or a story you'd like to tell us, or tell us about how FBA has maybe refocused you now that you're in Florida?
Well, Wow. See, I should have thought about this. I can answer that question, but it has to do with people, and I don't want to miss anybody, and so I should have written down a bunch of names because sure as heck.
Well, I missed Charlie Quarmby in my interview, so I'm now mentioning Charlie Quarmby in yours. Now my karma is now purged.
There have been so many people here in Florida specifically. Bobby Adams, my dear friend Bobby Adams. I mean, passion,
philosophy.
I could talk to Bobby, and within 2 minutes, 20 seconds, I could be engaged in conversation that I really wanted to know. I'll tell you a funny story about Bobby.
Good.
There are lots of stories I could tell you. A lot. But we were at an FBA clinics meeting, and it was maybe Daytona. It could have been Daytona. Bobby was in the hospital in Jacksonville, and it was the end, near the end. And I didn't know that. But I decided that I was closer to the hospital in Jacksonville than I was if I would go back to Fort Lauderdale. So I decided to go up to spend the day up there. So I did. And got to the hospital, and Bobby he looked good. He was coughing a lot. Horrible cough. And so we're talking, and he would cough. After a while, Ann, his wife, Ann, at the time, came in. She was so excited. And she was just bubbling. She just had something she wanted to tell Bobby so bad. You could feel it. I mean, it was palpable. You could feel it. And she said, I got something I want to tell you, Bobby, now. And of course, he looked at her, he says, you're not pregnant, are you? I was on the ground. That's Bobby.
That is so Bobby. That is so Bobby.
I was on the ground.
Oh, well, what a wonderful story.
Give me one more.
Oh,
real quick.
Please.
So, one of the things, and there were so many others. I mean, the people that have given me so much, uncalculable. I am a reoffering of everybody I've ever known, and the wisdom that has been given to me. And I'm grateful for all those people. Jim Croft, I could go on and on. People. Years ago, Fred Fennel was someone that I admired. Still do. And one of the things when you move to a state is to be able, if you get to conduct the all-state band in that state, that's big.
Oh, it's huge, yes.
So, as luck would have it, it was my year to do the all-state band. This was years ago. And as luck would have it, I had asked Fred to come back to Miami to conduct the wind ensemble at the University of Miami. Because he was there for many years, and he'd been gone for like 20 years. So I asked him to come back, and you talk about life altering. That was unbelievable. With him and Al Reed there, it was unbelievable. So at dinner one night with Fred, I said, when's the last time you conducted the Florida All-State Band? Because I was getting ready to do it, and I wanted to hear his stories about it. He said, I never did.
Oh.
He said, I conducted the orchestra several times, but I never conducted the band. And I said, well, let me talk to the powers that be and see if we can share the All-State Band. And it was agreed we'd be able to do it. So we conducted the All-State Band together. So, and I can tell you I could keep you here for an hour just about this one event. But I went to Fred's the condo. He was living in Siesta Key. And I said to him, okay, we have to pick a program. He said, it's your program, you pick it.
Oh.
I said, you're Fred Fennel. I'm not about to pick it. So he said, okay. I said, you pick one, I'll pick one. So he did.
Oh, okay, 50-50.
So I said, you have to go first. So he picked Picado Mozzarella. I picked the Perazzi variations, Val Reed. He picked Fanfare and Allegro, and I picked La Procession de Rocio, Turina, and Al. And then the last thing I wanted to do was Rolling Thunder. And so we did that concert together.
That's quite a program.
It was, listen, it was an unbelievable event. And to wrap it all up, and I'm struggling. I don't know. I should, if I written this out, it would be better. The band director that was at Lakeland for many years. Actually, I shouldn't have asked.
David Foltz?
No. This guy gone to Miami. I can't get it. That's too bad.
That's okay.
Well, anyway.
The Lakeland band director.
He was. Bill Miller. So
you were back more years than I was.
Yeah. So I had met Bill when I first came to Miami 30 years ago. And so I decided, Bill was sick, and so I decided we're in Tampa. So I would go up to Lakeland and see him in the hospital and come back and do the concert. Well, as I walked in the door, hospital, it was quiet. It was, even in the main, nothing was going on. So I walked up and there was nobody up there. Well, as it turns out, Bill had died just about the time I walked in that hospital to see him, which was shocking, of course. So I went back to Tampa to do the concert with Fred, and the last thing we played was Rolling Thunder. And Bill Miller conducted my band the very first time we played at FBA, and he conducted Rolling Thunder. And I thought, Bill Miller is dancing.
Yep.
So there you go. That's a Florida thing. So.
Yeah. Oh my. Well, I cannot thank you enough for your patience and flexibility.
This has got to be the longest interview you've ever had.
And one of the most fun. I'll
Well,
say that.
that.
Yes. So thank you again, and I'm going to go home and get this posted post-haste.
Well, at least we can now. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, and
You were terrific.
congratulations on being an FBA Legacy.
Thank you.